Our society has countless images, ideas, and stereotypes about change agents. People who help an organization transform by improving business process and interpersonal interactions. Whether influencing fashion, business, art, entertainment, science, politics, or law, these change agents have and continue to positively impact today's society on so many levels. And today, we are proud to share the story of these business owners, coaches, innovators, and thought leaders from various industries who are eager to educate, inspire, and motivate you. This is Our Voices on the Voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Welcome to Our Voices, powered by the Nassau Community College Foundation. My name is Natasha Nurse. I'm the owner and co-founder of Dressing Room 8, co-host of Woke and Free, and the lifestyle editor of Plus Model magazine. And this show is focused on highlighting the amazing work of powerful change agents who have a great message to share with the world. And today I'm so excited, I can't even get the words out, to be speaking with Stephen Hart. He is a brand alignment strategist, podcaster, entrepreneur, and world's best dad. And I'd love to just kind of share with everyone a little bit more about him. So he's the founder of Isles Media, LLC. He's the creator of Brand You Academy. His passion is to guide professionals, entrepreneurs, and creatives through the steps to build, market, and grow their own amazing personal brand. He is also the amazing host of Trailblazers.fm, the #1 podcast that interviews today's successful Black professionals. He was recognized and selected to be the Black Enterprise 100 Modern Men of Distinction and featured on the homepage of Apple Podcasts. His podcast has been downloaded more than 130,000 times in 110 countries around the world. And he is today one of the most dynamic speakers on the topic of personal branding. So without further ado, how are you, Stephen?
I am blessed. I'm so happy to be here with you, Natasha.
Thank you so much. You have such an incredible bio, and it's obviously been a pleasure knowing you and working with you. And so I'd love for you to first just share with everyone how you got attracted to the idea of branding and making a voice and building a platform in media.
Right. Great question. So first off, I would start the response to that by saying that I'm the son of a dad who's an entrepreneur himself and a chef by trade, but also a creative. He's a playwright, a painter, a florist, a decorator, an actor. And so my love for the arts and for design and for entrepreneurship are really the result of him for a large part, right? And I think where a lot of my love for branding and design kind of stem from, my attraction to media came from really wanting to shift the narrative about Black professionals, right? To something more positive and all-encompassing. I think we generally hear of Black success in mainstream media, or we're told of athletes and musicians and celebrities. I live in a very affluent area in Maryland, and across the state, really, there are so many Black professionals that are crushing it at different professions, right? At things that they are really passionate and feel a purpose. It's pulling them to do what they're doing, and they're achieving success, right? By their definition of. And so that's kind of what pulled me to the media side of things.
Okay. And what is the story behind how Trailblazers.fm came to be?
Yes. So I consume a lot of podcast content myself as a marketer. I find that it informs me on a real-time basis on what's actually happening. And I always thought I would start a podcast of my own, but there are so many marketing podcasts out there. And I have two crumb snatchers. I have an 8-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old son. And, my daughter was probably about 4 years old. And I was thinking of what we just spoke about, the fact that she was only going to be seeing athletes, musicians, and celebrities in a few years as potential role models and influences, for her to aspire to being. And yet we are in this neighborhood where I'm seeing so many people doing great things. And I thought that the light bulb moment kind of went off for me at that point. And I said, you know what? We need to showcase Black women and Black men for kids like mine and yours and, people out there to be able to say, you know what? There's so much more, right? Representation matters in that light. And so that was the inspiration for Trailblazer.
Gotcha. Okay. And with all the interviews that you've done, what would you say has been the biggest lesson that you've learned to date?
That it's possible. I've interviewed almost 140 people right now who are tremendously successful. But they've had the failures, they've had the challenges like you and I. But they also know, right, that they have a sort of greatness within them. And they know that they also had a responsibility to be able to manifest that greatness. And it's amazing to see that theme come through interview after interview where they just pursued their purpose and their passion through the failure and through the challenges, regardless, right?
Absolutely.
And it's come through over and over. It's amazing.
Okay. And, obviously if people want the full Monty, they've got to work with you. But what would you share as like a teaser for like the number one or the top 3 rules to keep in mind when having or building a successful brand for yourself?
Right. So the number one thing is authenticity, right? We can't copy what we see other people doing. You really need to understand what makes you, and share that with the world, right? Be open to sharing what you have to offer. There's something that you have that God planted inside of you, and no one else can give that to the world. So authenticity is vital. You should not be copying anyone else. You should absolutely be you. I think another thing that we miss out on is being able to be very clear about the message that we're trying to share, right? There's a phrase that says, if you confuse, you'll lose. And sometimes we develop a website or we develop some social channels and assets, and it's incredibly confusing when someone lands on our website and they're thinking, I don't really have a clear picture of what you do and how I would even get involved if I'm interested. So I think the clear messaging is number 2, right? And then take time. The third thing, take time to develop the look and feel of your brand. Again, you need to stand out in a crowd, right? So it's important that when somebody's Googling you, because somebody is, that they are going to see the authentic you. There's going to be clear messaging about what you do and how to get involved with you. And above all, right, your first impression is gonna stand out, right? Like if your branding pops and it pops, they found out about you on Twitter or Facebook, and then they come back to your website and they see that consistent, cohesive, brand elements and images and everything just looks right. That adds the know, like, and trust that you want them to have to hire you or to do business with you and to work with you.
I love it. You are listening to Our Voices on the voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC. My name is Natasha Nurse, and my guest today is Stephen Hart, a brand alignment strategist, podcaster, and entrepreneur. Oh my gosh, you are so correct that people are always Googling you. So let's not be delusional about that. And then I loved what you said about the clarity, right? Within 3 seconds of landing on your homepage, what do you do? Who are you? I think that that's such a, profound question, and it's not really that hard to answer, but yet so many people are struggling with that. So I guess then the flip side of this would be, then what are some of the key mistakes that you're correcting with your own clients, but also you're just kind of seeing out there in the space that you're like, oh no, why did you do that?
Right. I think people turn the process upside down. And when people think of branding, right, a lot of people immediately default to a logo. And so they're going out there and they're telling a designer, hey, I need a logo. And that's the absolute last place that we're going for starting off with the foundation of your brand. I think the first thing that you have to be incredibly clear about is, what is your mission? What's your why? And a lot of people start off with, well, I want to be a millionaire. No, money is not any part of your mission, right? It's your why. So when the money falls to the wayside, the mission is what's going to keep you going to pursue, right? And your vision, right, is your long-term focus. What do you see this image of yourself being 25, 30 years old from now? And when you have clarity on your mission and your vision, then you can reverse engineer your path to get there, right? So I work with my clients to create what I call your BHAGs, your big, hairy, audacious goals. And we look at that as a 10-year focus. In 10 years, what do you want to do, Natasha? You want to be a best-selling author. You want to be an international speaker. You want to be XYZ. And then we begin to task out what needs to happen to get you there.
Gotcha.
Once we have all that down, we're talking about messaging a second ago and being clear on your messaging. Once you know what those goals are, messaging becomes clearer because you know who you're focused on in terms of your audience, who you're trying to serve and provide value to. And then it becomes all about us working through that foundation, working through your messaging and packaging you and delivering that. And then at that point, we are packaging the pretty. We're putting on that shell, right?
Gotcha.
To make sure that we're connecting the dots. So we don't start with design. We start with the foundation that is being clear on your mission and your vision and your message.
Absolutely. I love that. You were just given everything and so much more. With that, I hope everyone is listening and really taking notes, because that I agree with you. I think so many people do jump with, oh my God, I got to design the hottest logo, and you're absolutely right. That's like the last thing to do, not the first thing to do. Interesting. So now I do have a follow up question with that. Then for yourself, how did you know? Like you mentioned how you got into media and how it was kind of driven through you, given your nourishment and how your parents influenced you. But for someone who maybe didn't have that context, how do they find their why? Like what are steps that you could offer as advice for finding your purpose or connecting with your deeper purpose?
Right. I think it really comes down to, that's a tough question. And it comes back to what drives you, right? What do you want? Again, the question I'd asked before was, for me, my kids drive me, right? For you, it might be, you have to look at what you're connected to in the world and what you want to see done better, right? Why will the world be better? Because you are here. And I think at the end of the day, we need to look at the things. I had a big failure in my business, in my first business back 10 years ago. And my sole focus in life was making $1 million by the time I was 30. Right? And when that fell apart, that business fell apart, it took me back to a place where I realized that I developed a spiritual relationship with God. I built a better relationship with my wife. The result of me wanting to become a better father. And so, again, it comes back to what's driving you, right? And that's going to be a different response for everyone. But I think that will fuel kind of your why and what you want to see in the long term. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. I agree. I think so a lot of also, I think what people can take from that is the idea of sometimes we're always searching externally for answers, but like you're saying, the why, the what you're doing, that's an inside job, right? Like no one can kind of answer that for you. So so you mentioned your children drive you. For me, I would say, definitely culture, definitely wanting to be make my Jamaican culture like proud of me and my ancestors, right? Like being an African-American woman, making sure that, I give honor to the sacrifice that was made and laid with their lives for me to do what I do, and also be that representation that I really needed when I was a child. I think that's like my biggest driving force, because I never saw anyone look like me. And that's hard. That's hard on your womanhood. It's hard on your identity. And so those are big forces that drive me. And, obviously, who doesn't want $1 million, right? But yes, we can't.
Say, our Jamaican ancestors wanted you to be a lawyer or a doctor.
Yeah, Exactly, right? Like there's a lot that goes into brewing and creating us all. So, you want to give back and make sure that you make that our history proud. So you are listening to Our Voices. My name is Natasha Nurse. More with my guest, Stephen Hart, brand alignment strategist, podcaster, and entrepreneur, next on the Voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.